You're rereading a message you already sent, again, and you literally just thought, this is so frustrating. I know I'm overthinking this. Why can't I stop? But your body still feels tense, urgent, like you need to figure this out before you can move on. Did I come across as being insensitive? What if I'm being unreasonable? What if I shouldn't have said anything? This isn't a lack of insight. It's actually a mismatch between what you know and what you feel. Because you do know better. You know not everything needs this level of analysis. You know you're probably reading too much into it. This is a familiar pattern, and still you get sucked right back into it, replaying, rewriting, trying to land on the right conclusion. So if awareness hasn't shifted it, the question isn't, why don't I get it? It's, what is this trying to do for me? Overanalyzing is not random. It's a learned form of protection. Part of you figured out that thinking ahead helped you stay one step in front of discomfort. Because uncertainty feels intolerable. The more you can anticipate, the safer you feel. So your system leans on a set of beliefs. If I can think through every possible scenario, I'll be prepared. If I miss something, I'll be caught off guard. If I can anticipate what will happen, I can handle it. I won't be able to cope with my feelings if something unexpected happens. That's the strategy, and your nervous system reinforces it. Once those beliefs are running in the background, the behaviors follow. So you rehash conversations after they end. You rehearse ones that haven't even happened yet. You reread messages to check tone. You research what something means. You look for reassurance. You try to arrive at certainty before taking action. Not because you're indecisive, because there's a deeper concern underneath all of it. Can I trust myself to handle what I didn't prepare for? And when that answer feels shaky, you keep thinking. So picture this. You're lying in bed, scrolling back through a conversation from earlier. At the time, it felt fine. You were thoughtful, clear. You remember thinking you phrased things well. Now you're dissecting it. That one line, was that too much? Did that come across differently than I intended? Should I have worded that better? So you reread it, then again. Then you start drafting a follow-up message and deleting it. And here's the part that stands out. You catch yourself thinking, I'm overthinking this. You know it's excessive, and still you can't stop. Because the moment you try to step away from the analysis, there's a drop in your stomach, a kind of unsettled feeling you can't organize. It's not really about the message anymore. It's about the possibility that you misstepped and you won't know how to handle what comes next. So your mind goes back to work, not to really understand, but to stay ahead of that feeling. So here's what's happening underneath this. Your mind understands the pattern, but your system is still reacting like control is required. So you end up stuck between two experiences. I know this isn't necessary, and I still feel like I need to do it. Because overthinking starts to function like a bridge. On one side, there's uncertainty. On the other, there's the feeling of having it figured out. And analyzing feels like the way to bridge the gap. It creates the sense that if you just think a little longer, you'll land somewhere more solid. But you don't, because the goal was really never clarity. It was to get away from the feeling underneath it. So the shift isn't forcing yourself to stop. That actually usually creates more tension. The shift is how you respond to it in the moment. So here are a few things to try. Number one, name the part of you that's overanalyzing. Say, part of me is trying to figure this out. And then ask, what is this part trying to prevent right now? You might notice it's trying to prevent embarrassment, rejection, feeling misunderstood. You're starting to relate to it differently. Number two, stop interpreting and start noticing. When you feel the pull to keep thinking, pause. Notice where this shows up in your body, in your chest, your stomach, your throat. Instead of asking, what does this mean? Ask, what am I noticing right now? Is it tightness, pressure, a lump? You're allowing the feeling without turning it into a problem to be solved. And number three, take one good enough action to build self-trust. Choose one simple step. Send the message, leave it alone, close the tab. And internally say, we don't have to get this exactly right to be okay. Because what that part is looking for is reassurance, and you're starting to provide it in a different way. Insight is powerful, but it doesn't automatically create emotional steadiness. You can recognize every pattern you have and still fall into them, because the belief underneath them isn't resolved through logic alone. So the goal isn't to eliminate overthinking, it's to recognize when you're using analysis as protection. and respond differently in that moment. If this resonated, I'd be curious what this looks like for you. Fill in this sentence. I tend to overanalyze blank because part of me believes blank. And if you want to go deeper into this, I expand on these patterns in my book Unpacked and my longer form content.